I just had an amazing conversation with an amazing woman, and it got me thinking about something that I feel like I don't talk about often enough in my post. And that is when you are out here trying to either attract a relationship or to improve the relationships that you already have, do you have the capacity and the integrity for these relationships that you are asking for? What I mean by this is capacity to start. Oftentimes, women will come to me and they will ask me, why is it that I keep ending up in relationships with men who are somehow unavailable? So that means they're emotionally unavailable, or they're unavailable because they're in another relationship, or just not willing or ready to commit. And oftentimes, my response to this is, if you say that you keep attracting unavailable men, are you yourself available for a relationship? Because, of course, relationships are a two-way street. Oftentimes, you may want to be in a healthy relationship with someone who you can be vulnerable with, someone who truly cherishes you, someone that you feel safe with. But because of past hurts that you haven't healed, you aren't ready to actually be vulnerable yourself with that person. You aren't ready to let those guards down. You aren't ready to give someone a real chance. So you end up in these situations where you keep attracting relationships with unavailable people, but a major part of that is the fact that you yourself have not allowed yourself to be available to a relationship in which someone takes care of you. Maybe you are so used to being independent that the idea of entering into a relationship that's interdependent, where the two of you rely on each other for some things, just seems so foreign that you don't even know how to take the steps towards getting into a relationship like that or staying in a relationship like that. You may self-sabotage because it's so unfamiliar and because you haven't done that healing work yet. Another part of having the capacity to be in a relationship is feeling worthy of being in a relationship. If you don't believe that you deserve love, if you don't believe that you deserve to be happy, if you don't believe that you deserve to be taken care of, then you're either A, not going to attract those things at all, or when you do find them in your life, you'll figure out ways to subconsciously push them away. Even if that's what you say you want, you will find reasons why this relationship can never work. Or you will tell this person, like, you know, I'm not good enough for you. I'm not right for you. You need to go on and find someone else. And they may hear that enough times and do that. Or you'll find other ways to sabotage the relationship. Understanding that you need to be available and that you need to feel worthy are incredibly important. And also understanding that part of the capacity to be in a healthy relationship is understanding that a healthy relationship requires work and effort and energy. And if you haven't put those things in yourself, it's going to be hard to have those with other people as well. So when you are contemplating being in a healthy and happy relationship, one of the things that you need to do is understand that if you want to be in a relationship with someone who communicates their needs and communicates their feelings, then you yourself have to be good at communicating your needs and communicating your feelings. You have to set boundaries. You have to actually enforce those boundaries. You have to be very intentional about who has access to you and what level of access they have to you. You have to be intentional about understanding that there's so much power in the things that you speak. You have to be intentional about understanding that time management and having balance and having that care for yourself are very important, and that you can't pour from an empty cup. If you aren't constantly feeding yourself and pouring into yourself, hey, if you aren't doing those things, then you can't expect someone else to do those for you as well. People can only love you at the level that you love yourself. When you don't take care of yourself, you attract other people in your life who also don't take care of you either. So it's important that you have the capacity to be in a healthy relationship. It's also important that you have the integrity to be in a healthy relationship as well. So I mentioned setting boundaries. Are you honest and faithful and truthful and loyal to yourself? When you set boundaries, do you actually uphold those and enforce those? Or is it a matter of the second you're afraid that someone's going to get mad or not like what you have to say, that you abandon those and that you constantly betray yourself? You'll never learn how to trust other people if you don't know how to trust yourself to begin with. There's a Bible verse that says, out of the heart, the mouth flows. And, out of the heart, everything flows. So the words we say, but also the actions that we do, when we do not trust ourselves, when we do not take care of ourselves, when we allow people to let us shift our opinions and thoughts and our moods based on other people's opinions and thoughts and moods, then the things that flow out of us are chaotic. They're petty. They show a lack of confidence, a lack of self-worth. And because of that, we end up attracting people who are abusive, or we attract people who maybe don't even intend to harm us. But because our boundaries are so porous, because we are focused on people pleasing, because we are afraid of what other people will think, they treat us in ways based on how we're acting and how we're reacting. So they may not even know that the things that they do make you uncomfortable, or that you don't like doing favors for them, or that the things that they're doing are hurtful to you because you seem like you are perfectly okay with it. Understanding that from your center, from your values, from your beliefs, from your boundaries, from your standards, people respond to that and act accordingly, is key to attracting a healthy relationship. Because until you've done the work on yourself, you'll never be able to attract someone who appreciates that work and who also treats you in the way in which you need to be loved. They can treat you well and still not treat you in the way that you need to be loved. So it's important that we have this integrity in ourselves, that we've done this work on ourselves. It's important that we have this integrity in ourselves and that we hold ourselves accountable, that we don't lie to ourselves. Again, when you enter into a relationship with someone, you don't want someone who's going to lie to you. You don't want someone who isn't going to speak up when, from their perspective, they can see you heading in a wrong direction or making a bad decision and you can't see it yourself from your perspective. If someone can say something that can protect you or keep you from making a bad decision, you want to hear it, right? So if you don't have that trust and that integrity within yourself, if you don't hold yourself accountable, if you aren't honest with yourself, other people are not going to be honest with you either. Like, that energy feeds. Other people aren't going to really build that connection with you because you're letting your own relationship with yourself go by the wayside. Being integrity with yourself is key to being in integrity with others. Thank you. Knowing that you love yourself is key to having intuition and discernment and being able to follow through on it. I see this so often where I'm coaching a client and she ends up in a relationship that turns out not to be healthy. And I'll ask her, well, did you see any signs? Did you see any red flags from the beginning? And she'll say, yeah, I saw the red flags, but I ignored them because I wanted this relationship so badly, or because it's been so long since I've been dating, so I wasn't sure if it was a real red flag or or what was happening. And when we don't trust ourselves, we set ourselves up for disaster in our relationships with other people. When we don't trust ourselves, we betray ourselves. We lie to ourselves. We settle for less than what we deserve. Because with no foundation, there's no way you can build a healthy relationship. And that foundation is you being healthy and the person you enter into a relationship being healthy. And then the two of you can build something that's even more beautiful together. But if one or both of you are still dealing with trauma, or you're still dealing with low self-esteem issues, or you're still dealing with not really knowing what you want and not understanding your values and your boundaries and your standards, then it's a house built on sand. It will eventually sink unless you put in that work. So when it comes to putting in that work, one of the first things that I can recommend for you is that you start journaling. What are your values? What are the things that are most important to you? Who are the important people in your life? Where do you spend most of your time? If you donate to any charities, why do you choose those charities? If you volunteer, why those places? If you would want to volunteer, or someone gave you $1,000 to donate someplace, where would you put it? Get clear on what's really important to you, who is really important to you, and then start looking at where is your energy going? How much time do you spend worrying instead of preparing, for example? The people in your life that have time access to you, is that time access about right? Or are there people who are draining you? Are there people who have too much access to you and that you need to restrict that a little bit? Once you start doing those things, get clear on what boundaries you need to set so that you can live a more peaceful life. And then I encourage you to get professional accountability in the form of either a therapist or a coach. But once you start to do these things, once you learn how to love yourself more, and I would say even more importantly, trust yourself more, you'll be amazed at, one, your capacity to love others. And once you start really having that integrity with yourself, you will also be amazed at the types of relationships that you call in and that you build and sustain, because you'll be able to create healthy, vulnerable, open relationships with people because you're able to be those things with yourself. So I hope that you found this helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you all very much.